this shit. Welcome back, guys. Ed here. Thank you for tuning in. Today's video topic is front loading. Should you be front loading your gear? Who front loads their gear and why do they do it? We're going to get into that. Before we do, as always, please like, leave a comment for the algorithm, subscribe, share this shit with your friends. We got to get this info out to the world because it's important to keep us happy and healthy on our fitness journey. So, front loading, what exactly is it? Well, front loading is kind of like an old school bro science practice. I mean, not really, it's still used today, but I feel like it's kind of starting to be phased out, or it's really only for the more experienced guys. What it is, basically you inject large amounts of steroids at the beginning of your cycle, usually somewhere in the range of double the dose where you want your cycle to be at, and you do this to get peak concentrations sooner. So instead of waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to get that peak concentration, you spike your blood levels real quick by injecting kind of double of what you're planning to run on cycle. Like I said, I mean, this is more for like very experienced guys, but me personally, I don't see it as a great practice. I guess if you've been bodybuilding for a while, if you've been on gear for, 10, 15 years now and you know how your body works, by all means, if you want to front load. But, I mean, me personally, I don't see a need for it, especially if you're newer in using gear. I'm going to explain why. So, why do guys really front load? It's mostly for the longer compounds. You don't see front loading with like a shorter compound or shorter cycle. Most of the time you see people front load, it's going to be with compounds like DECA, EQ, things that typically take longer to build up in your system. For example, DECA and EQ have a half-life of about 2 weeks. So if you follow the 5 half-life rule, where they say it takes about 5 half-lives of a compound for it to actually reach peak concentration levels in your bloodstream, you're looking at about 10 weeks before you're really kind of up there and you're like, all right, now I'm feeling the full effects of the cycle. So 10 weeks is a long time. That's why guys like to front load these longer ester compounds. But you really don't need to. For most people, it doesn't make sense to do it. Especially when you're taking steroids, for the first time, it's your first couple cycles, you're trying a new compound, or you're trying the same compound you've been doing, but you just want to increase the dose a little bit from your last cycle. For example, if you've done a cycle with test and DECA, and you ran 400 milligrams of DECA in the past, and it was great, everything was fine and dandy, no side effects. Now for this next cycle, you want to run 800 milligrams of DECA, but you want it to hit you a little quicker, so you're planning to front load it. So instead of taking 800, you're going to bump that up to 1,000, 1,200, maybe even 1,600 for that first week there if you're going to follow the, 2 times rule that some guys like to do while they're front loading. Well, everything was fine and dandy when you were at 400 on your last cycle, but if all of a sudden you jump to 1,000, 1,200, 1,600, you might get crazy side effects. You might be shooting friggin' milk out of your man boobs because of prolactin issues that manifest that you weren't accounting for at all, because this dose is huge. So, yeah, that's where I would be careful. If you're gonna go with a higher dose, I like to titrate up. So instead of jumping in at 800 or, doubling it if you're gonna front load, you've done 400 in the past, so start at maybe 300, 400 for a week or two, work yourself up to 500, 600. Slowly step up the dosage, guys, because if you don't, say you're running, a new compound, Anadrol, Primobolan, Masteron, well, whatever it is that you're running, if you don't step it up and you just go to a huge dose right off the rip, your blood levels are going to be all out of whack. That's where you're going to get your shitty side effects, high blood pressure, thick blood, hair falling out, oily skin, acne, gyno, anxiety, the whole rip of it, all right? But if you step it up slowly, maybe around week 3 or 4 of you stepping up your Masteron dose, you realize, wow, my hair's really starting to fall out. Maybe I shouldn't go anymore. Maybe I should back down the dose. So if it's a compound you've never ran before, or if it's a dosage that you've never ran before, I wouldn't front load at all. I don't front load. That's my personal preference. If you want to and you're stuck in your ways, do it. But I just think it's unsafe. I'm going to run you through an example of my blood work here. I mean, my test levels naturally, not on anything, are about 500 to 550 nanograms per deciliter. On 200 milligrams of test, my levels were just greater than 1500. That's as high as the panel measured up to, 1500 nanograms per deciliter. I was, I guess, way above and beyond that. My estradiol was 59 picograms per milliliter. Reference range is 7 to 42. So on 200 milligrams of testosterone, my test through the roof, my estradiol already above the reference range. Again, you do want them to be in a good ratio, so them being higher isn't necessarily bad, but that's only taking 200 milligrams. So if you want to, front load and you're up at 1,000 milligrams right off the rip, to go from 0 to that, who knows what your test levels are going to be at? Who knows what your estrogen levels are going to be at? Your liver enzymes, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. You're just asking for side effects when you go to that high a dose off the rip. So I like to titrate it up, let your body adjust, get used to it, evaluate how you feel, evaluate the side effects, evaluate your blood markers. If everything's good, then you can keep upping it. But don't just go double from the rip. That's stupid, guys. Come on. All right? I mean, so that's my little spiel on front loading. Do a lot of people do it? Yes. Is it necessary? No. Take those couple weeks in the beginning of your cycle to let your body adjust, let it build up in your system, because it's working right away. Okay, whether you believe it or not, if you're on longer esters like testanenthate, cypionate, yes, you're not going to feel it for, 3 to 4 weeks, but it is working in your body right away. Instead of front loading, maybe if you want to add in a shorter ester for those first couple weeks, maybe a propionate or a sustanon, you can do that. You'll get to feel it a little bit sooner. That's great, but I mean, I wouldn't go doing crazy dosages off the rip. Alright, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have experience with front loading? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. Share some info for everybody watching this video, alright? That's all I got for you today. Ed out. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.